Big shoulders and a small waist are the key to unlocking the V-taper and looking good. So in this video, I'll tell you exactly how I went from this to having massive shoulders and the fastest way to get there. Timestamps are in the video description. The first thing you need to know about getting big shoulders is your training structure. This is your foundations. This tells you how often you need to train, how much you need to rest, and how intense your sessions should be. So the first thing you need to know is train your shoulders only 2 to 3 times per week for best gains. And then you have to rest for at least 48 hours between each one of these workouts. So what that will look like is if you train your shoulders on Sunday, you rest for the entire day of Sunday, then Monday comes along, that's 48 hours, then the next time you train shoulders would ideally be on Tuesday. This is because the shoulders are a very big muscle part and then they take time to recover compared to something like biceps, which just take short time to recover. Next thing is you want to do 6 to 10 sets per week in the 5 to 10 rep range for your entire shoulders. Let's say you train 2 times per week, you want to do somewhere between 6 to 10 sets for the entire week. This might be a bit contradictory to the information you've heard from other videos where they tell you to aim for 15, 16, 18 sets per week in 10 to 16 rep ranges. They will get you gains, don't get me wrong, but they're not the most efficient way to maximize your gains for the amount of time you spend in the gym. I show a study in the video where it shows that the number of sets you do isn't a direct correlation to how much muscle you build. How close you get to failure, it matters more than how many sets you do per week. If you do 6 to 10 sets per week for your shoulders and each set you take very close to failure or to failure, you will beat the guy who's twice triple your volume, but he's nowhere close to failure. Anything more than this will work, but they're the best way to progress to add more weight. Then why not just be in the 5 to 10 rep range? And to end off the section for training structure, train with intensity. I cannot stress this enough, especially if you're going to follow this philosophy of 6 to 10 sets per week. You have to take each set close to failure or to failure. Taking every set to failure is unrealistic because that'll just hamper recovery. Out of 10 sets that you do per week, 7 of them should be close to failure and then 3 of them should be to failure. The next thing you need to know is exercise selection. What exercise you need to do. This is very simple. You only really need 3 exercises because the shoulders, they're divided into 3 parts. The front of the shoulders, which we call the front delts. The side of the shoulders, that's responsible for giving you the wide look, it's called the side delts. The back of the shoulders here, which is called the rear delts. So here are some of the most popular, best exercises that people use. The first and the absolute non-negotiable that should be in every one of your workouts, an overhead press. It's a compound movement. It involves not only your front delts, but other parts of your body as well, such as the triceps, a little bit of your chest, and the pushing movement as well. You can either do a machine version, barbell version, or a dumbbell version. All are fine. If you prefer stability and you want to easily overload the weight, go with the machine version. Barbell version, you have to worry more about balance, easier to get injured, and the dumbbell version, significantly more difficult to overload the weight. Try out all the different versions if possible. The next thing is front raises. Now, if you're doing an overhead press already, I wouldn't recommend doing your front raise. You're already stimulating front delts already from this overhead press. And if you're doing other exercises that involve a pushing movement, such as a bench press, your shoulders will already get targeted more than enough. So if you cannot do an overhead press, whether that be due to injury or maybe you just want to try out a new exercise, and if you want to alternate for a home workout, you could also resort to pike push-up, especially a handstand progression. Your shoulders will be absolutely hooked. Pike push-up is also a great alternative if you're working out from home. Now we move on to the side head or the side delts. This is the meaty part of the shoulders. This is responsible for giving you the wide look, the V-taper look that we all aspire to get. The best exercise by far for the side delts is going to be the lateral raises. You can do this with a machine, dumbbell, or cables. You know, do this with cables. They're easy to overload. You don't have to worry about balancing yourself as much and they're stable as hell. But a machine is also a good alternative. Barbell, I just wouldn't look at a barbell for the lateral raise. All sorts of things can go wrong. Dumbbells are also good if you choose specific variations. The next thing is overhead press. If you're smart, you would realize that overhead press was already here in the front head section, but how come it's here in the side delt section as well? As I told you earlier, it's a compound movement, so it involves multiple body parts. And Jeff Nippert, a famous exercise scientist on YouTube, he basically got all these small machines that let you know how much a muscle is activated while you're doing an exercise. And then when he used data that he collected from those machines, he figured out that the side head is targeted as much as the front head during overhead presses. So the next thing is an upright row. This isn't as popular in the gym nowadays. There are just better alternatives. You can opt for this as well, in case you cannot do lateral raises. Finally, we move on to the back head or the rear delts. I see most people skip the rear delts because it doesn't contribute as much to the V-taper. This is a mistake. Your rear delts play a big role in how good your back looks. If you have poor rear delts, not only does your back look worse, you also suffer from muscular imbalances. It will look like you're hunching back, like you're carrying too much weight. Front head and your side heads are just dominating your rear head. The best exercise is, in my opinion, the rear delt flies. I use the machine version because it's the easiest to overload. It's stable. You can also alternate for cables. They also provide a deep stretch. They're very good. And dumbbells, you have to be a bit more careful because they're not as stable and you're more prone to cheat on rear delt flies. You can just use your body and your momentum to swing more. The other thing is a Facebook. If you're relatively new to the gym, you can't pull that much weight. It's pretty good. Once you start pulling more and more weight, stability becomes a major issue. You're pulling so much weight that your body actually gets pulled by the cable machine itself. You have to lean backwards a bit more. Focus gets ruined from the workout and you can't perform to your fullest potential. So that is all for exercises. Just a quick recap. Front head to an overhead press, the side delts to a lateral raise, and for the back head to rear delt flies or just face pulls. That is all you need to build big shoulders. So here's what a sample workout could look like. Day 1, you have a push workout, and then you do 2 sets of overhead presses in the 5 to 8 rep range, 2 sets of lateral raises, and 1 set of rear delt flies in the 5 to 10 rep range. Day 2, you do a pull workout. Day 3, you relax and abs. Day 4, you rest. And day 5, you do a push workout, which is the exact same. But let's say you have a bit less time to work with in the gym. You can do 2 sets of overhead presses, 2 sets of lateral raises on day 1. On day 2, you do another body part. Day 3, you rest. Day 4, you do another body part. And on day 5, you do overhead presses and then rear delt flies. So the first day, you do front delts and side delts. And the second day, you do a bit of front delts and side delts mixed. And then you do your rear delts as well. Any program can work to grow your shoulders as long as you train 2 to 3 times a week. You take 3 exercises for each sets of the shoulders, and then you take each set close or very close to failure. And the final thing you need to know to grow big shoulders, which isn't talked about as much, but it's extremely important, is just have patience. See this all the time in beginners, and when I first started working out as well. I would want instant results. Maybe it's because of the TikTok brains that we've been conditioned to. Ideally, you want to stick to a program for at least 4 months to see visible results. Most people, they do a program for a month at most, and then they don't see results, and then they just either quit working out altogether or they just keep program hopping, and then they never actually make any progress. You will thank your past self for sticking out, and then you will thank me later. And the second thing is, don't chase fancy exercises. I've already mentioned this in another video about making the best workout routine, where everything is science-based, and science-based lifting is so popular. Every other day, you see a new variation for the lateral raise or the overhead press that focus on a deep stretch that claim to give you the most bang for your buck. But the thing is, classic exercises such as the dumbbell lateral raise, they will get you 90% of the results. And most of these science-based exercises are just created on a whim to just look good on social media. Doing 6 to 10 sets per week in the 5 to 10 rep range. That is, I can't stress this enough, take each set very close to failure. Your last set should always be to failure. That will get you 90% of the gains, no matter what exercise you do. Don't chase after fancy exercises and enjoy the process. If you go into each workout, not with the intention of just, I want to build as much muscle as possible. As you do these exercises, you eventually learn to enjoy it. In the beginning, going to the gym is difficult. You don't like it. Eventually, as you keep going, you see results. You notice changes. People start complimenting you. You start to enjoy the process. You think, oh wow, maybe I am cut out for this. You start getting more involved in fitness content online. Start talking with friends about it. Don't overcomplicate gains too much. As long as you're making progress, you're increasing either the amount of weight you're lifting or the number of reps you're doing. If you want to know more about how to structure a good workout program in general, check out my video on how to set up a good workout routine. It'll give you all the information you could ever need in just 7 minutes. And lastly, if you're still confused or you want personal guidance from me, you can click on the first link in the description. It'll redirect you to a website called Calendly. There you can book a call with me depending on when I'm free. And there I can take a personal look at your workout routine, your situation, and then give you personal feedback to get the best gains possible. It's completely free for the first 10 people to click on the link. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.